she's going to have to be put down, and I'll need to test the rest of the herd. This is a risk that you take. I didn't buy any of these goats at auction, but I would have bought goats at auction. Give it a good week or more after the copper bolus, because I've heard it can take a couple weeks before you really see a difference in condition. Well, to me, it's like, well, they're getting shiny, but Oreo looks like she's dropped weight, and I wanted them at the same time, so I really am wondering about her. I have to call the vet. I look at the babies, and the babies look good. I don't see ribs, you know, they're not all belly, and they look like they got decent flesh on their top line. See the tail, so I wonder how long it'll take before the copper bolus kicks in and corrects the hair issue with her tail. The babies are all big enough that they can pretty much support themselves, and I really don't know that they're eating a whole lot off their mamas at this point. Mama's just had the copper bolus. They've all been vaccinated. And the thing about the vaccine, I couldn't figure out on that disease, is if they already have it, how's the vaccine going to help? Like when Annie was born, she was sick, and the vet, one of the shots he had me give her was an antitoxin. Turns out that's what they need. If they already have that disease, giving them the vaccination alone is not enough. They have to have that antitoxin. So once it's given, then you have to give it time to work. And it's just like with the copper boluses. I just did that. They were all wormed with Safeguard, every one of them, based on weight. They get grass, weeds, they get fed nice hay. I need to watch them devour it down to nothing. If you end up with goats that you don't know their vaccination history, get them vaccinated. And if you still see problems like they're dropping weight when they shouldn't be, when they're getting all the food that they should be in order to be able to maintain weight, then something else is going on. So first thing to do would be check for worm. To poop or not to poop? I'm beginning to question. Kind of concerned for Oreo because she's thin, dropping weight. Even though I'm feeding her, they're eating. She's getting calf manna. She's been vaccinated. It's been about 30 days now since they were wormed and copper bolus, and she looks like she's still losing weight. So I'm waiting to collect a sample to take to the vet, and we'll talk to the vet about what's going on once we get the results back from the fecal sample. So I'll keep y'all updated. Somebody can answer this for me. These goat minerals, I've never seen them in a bigger bag. There's like 8 pounds goat minerals. My goats go through a lot of minerals. So how is it goats, Kiko mixes, they go through all these minerals, even with the feed I've been feeding them. I'm just kind of surprised they don't sell it in bigger packaging. Any words of advice on goats is very welcome, because I need all the advice I can get, honestly. So, now tell me what you think. I'm new to goats, and so I'm having to learn all this. She's been being separated. I'm feeding her the maximum amount of the medicated feed that's like 16% protein. It has a very low fat concentration on it, And with her lactating, in order to give her the extra calories, I started her on calf manna. So she's been getting the maximum amount of calf manna for about 30 days that they recommend for goats. The maximum amount is like half a pound a day. She doesn't want to be separated from everybody else. And that's what worries me. If I was to try to wean Cookie off of her, would be the best thing I could do, but she's so thin at this point, and I don't know how much more weight she can afford to lose, but I'm afraid she would worry herself to death. She would finish herself off worrying, because I have no place that I could separate them on 40 acres where they're not going to hear each other. So in that situation, you're usually better off to just separate them by fence wire or something. But I'm afraid she'd pace and carry on so much, fretting not being able to get to the baby, that she would just, she'd give herself a heart attack with as thin as she is. So, based on recommendation from this Goat Emergency team on Facebook, which some of y'all may be in that group too, excellent group, I started her on Red Cell. She had, based on their recommendations, they got a whole list of stuff in their files. Based on their recommendations, I gave her a week's worth of Red Cell. But then yesterday was the next day, and I went ahead and gave her a dose of Power Punch, which I believe is what they call a Nutri-Drench. It was a very small amount, like an ounce for her weight. Seemed kind of small to me, but I thought, well, because she has free choice minerals, and she's getting the forage. You see she's been on grass that has been loaded with clover, which is a legume like alfalfa. So when the clover really came in the way it did, I went ahead and cut out the alfalfa pellets. Maybe that was a mistake with her lactating, but that is one of the recommendations that somebody said. But I've been so worried that I've been giving her so much that I didn't want her to end up with bloat. Well, she hasn't had that problem. None of them have. And I have put baking soda out just as a precaution. Something I had read, like I said, I'm new to goats, still learning, always learning, don't ever quit learning. Matter of fact, everybody has something to offer in knowledge based on their experiences mostly. So, a lot of good people on there, very helpful. I went ahead, got the digital scale, weighed out the feed to make sure that it wasn't just a guesstimate, and went ahead and weighed out the calf manna to make sure it wasn't a guesstimate. And I was a little bit short on the calf manna, so I went ahead and increased that up to the half pound a day. Honestly, it's like every day, I swear y'all, it's almost like every day I look at her and I can see she's lost more. And every day I'm like, I dread, it's gonna break my heart. I'm dreading coming down here and finding her down, because so far she's been up, moving around. She hasn't acted lethargic or anything at this point. But with the advice of quite a few people that know goats, I'm going to add sweet feed, preferably like equine senior sweet feed. I can add the alfalfa pellets back. Since it has gotten hot and dry, the clover has pretty well dried up out here in this turnout. So, it's definitely not going to hurt to add the alfalfa pellets back at this point. I would rather go with the pellets or the cubes, and then that way we're not having to lift and move bales of alfalfa. We have to do that enough with hay, the small squares. I don't want to add to that, when we can just pick up bags of it, of the pellets or the cubes. And so pretty much I think I'm going to give her free choice on that. Make sure she's got plenty at night. I'm going to have to slowly adjust her to it, of course. And it's like, I really don't have a lot of time to waste with her. So I did give her some this morning to start her back up on it. And I'm glad to see that her poop had firmed up again some, because it was a little bit looser than that. Still kind of clumpy. It's not pellets, but it's not diarrhea. she never has had diarrhea. So I know everybody wants to look at poop. Woohoo! Anyway, she's had 2 fecals done now, vet visit, waiting on lab results for Onie's disease, which is like Johnes or something like that. It's a goat version of tuberculosis, basically, is what it is. That's what he's testing her for, is the goat version of tuberculosis. Every morning she still has feed in the pan. Since I've increased it and added the alfalfa pellets back. So she's still getting the full amount of the medicated feed, the calf manna, alfalfa pellets. Now this, I mean, to me, she does not look like she's dropped more weight. She looks like it's maybe slowed down or stopped. I noticed right away when I increased her calories that her bag got bigger. So it may just been I wasn't feeding her enough. You know, I cut the alfalfa pellets and I quit giving them hay because we had so much grass they really wasn't eating the hay. She still got hay in the feeder in there in the stall. She don't want the hay. Nope.